Hey YouTube, so I have got a guitar that unboxed itself. When this thing arrived, it was not great packaging. It was a taped together box that was taped together with painter's tape and nothing else inside, and this went through 2 weeks of being lost in the post office system, and when I picked up the box it just kind of birthed itself right there. So thankfully it at least was in this nice Roadrunner bag. And so it actually seems to have made it. I've not plugged it in yet. I'm just got it out of the box, or it got itself out of the box. But today we're going to be taking a look at a 1980s Matsumoku made in Japan Les Paul style, and it's a really unusual one. So hang with me as we unbox this. This was one of the later era Matsumokus, and it's a set neck Memphis Les Paul style. So stay tuned as we get into this really unusual guitar. So Matsumoku was a Japanese factory in Matsumoto, Japan, and they were cabinet makers, woodworkers, and then in the 1960s they got into making guitars. And I've been really getting a taste for them. I've been getting a number of different, one of the things about that made in Japan era is you could find a lot of different badges, because there were a lot of different music companies that contracted with them, and so there's all sorts of different badges out there. And just because a badge, a company made at one time with Matsumoku doesn't mean that they were all made that way. And Memphis is one such brand. And so the way that you determine if this era Memphis Les Paul style was the made in Japan or the made in Korea by Samick, also good, but just a difference is that the Samick was bolt-on, whereas the made in Japan went with the set neck for Memphis for this time period. So this is already an unusual guitar. When you take a look at it, it's got some subtle but striking features. Here you've got, now this is post lawsuit, so you don't have the book, the open book headstock, the Gibson style, but obviously it's very, very similar. It just doesn't have that dimple right there. And some interesting features about this is this has got I believe this is original. This is OEM, and it's very well put in there. It's got a brass nut, and it matches the inlays. Very, very nice. Subtle, very nice. Now, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do more research and, find some more of these out there if this rail configuration was original or not. But it's got, this was getting into the 80s. You had particularly Peavey and the T-style guitars really brought these rail humbuckers to prominence, and so you see a nod to that. And here we have, now somebody stuck on at some point this pick holder, and we'll pop that off. But you see we have a set neck there. And earlier, most of your Matsumoku made guitars were bolt-on, and they all had a series of different designs on there, made in Japan, and then steel reinforced neck, made in Japan. But this is not a bolt-on, and it's really incredible. This came from a guy in Texas who found it at a thrift store, and I bought it on eBay, and I did the research to figure out. I was looking at there's a number of these Memphis LPs on eBay just right now as of the making of this. Most of the other ones are the Samicks. Those are the ones that have the bolt-ons. And now I've not played one of those, but I've got a lot of Samick made gear, and they are an excellent manufacturer of guitars. Also, this would have been in their earlier era, whereas the torch was kind of passing in the budget market from Japan to Korea, and this typifies that era where the Japanese guitars were really getting on par with American-made models and had really come to prominence. And the fellow that sold this to me said, yeah, it plays a lot nicer than you'd expect, and just looking at the quality of this, the neck, I'm amazed the condition that this is in, considering it's basically as old as me, and I've got a lot more creases and scars. This is a nice thick body. It should have some real growl and low end, especially with those rail humbuckers. Looks like there's a little bit of scraping damage right there, but really minimal. And Otherwise, it's got signs of play. There's a decent amount of light belt rash on the back and a lot of scuffing here. So this has been well played, but it was also very well kept. And I have to give a nod to Roadrunner that, you know, I think this made it through all of the abuses of the post office of 2 weeks in their hands variously, and that case was the only thing between it and certain doom, and it seems like it's fine. I don't see any damage on it. So that's a real, you know, hats off to Roadrunner on making a really solid case. But I'm going to let this acclimate for a little while and get it tuned up, and we'll see how she sounds. So I've had this a few days, and we're in the process of moving right now, so I'm not getting a lot of time to put into videos on the channel, but I took this with me, and I've been playing it over the last few days, and super impressed with it. Now, the one Achilles heel on it was that the jack was just, you know, really sloppy, and a little bit of movement, it would start cutting in and out and clicking and everything. That's a super easy fix, though, and I put one of the multi-contact pure tones in there, and a few minutes work, and now it's plugged in and getting absolutely no noise from it. Those things are excellent, and I checked out all the wiring. Everything looks good. So this was really not much of a restoration. One easy piece, and it is up and running and playing just fantastic. Really incredible sustain on these. Just Mustang modeler, just on the baseband setting. No pedals or anything, just a little bit of gain, give it a little bit of bite. And right now I'm on both pickups. I've got everything about 6, 7 on the tone, and about 8 on the volume. A lot of growl. This has got a very, it's not super heavy, but it's got some definite heft to it. I really like how contoured the body is. It's got more of what you know, you would call a modern cut, where it's rounded and contoured. It's got both the belly cut and the front arm contour. Incredibly comfortable to play, and but it's got some weight to it. And with these rail humbuckers, this was an early high output, and I mean, it's got some real growl to it, going up to the bridge. Nice growl. Again, this is no effects or anything, just a, you know, small little amp in my tiny little studio. But you can feel that nice, real heavy low end, and then it's got that crisp, powerful treble. Very impressive. Very impressive. I've found one other of these of this, like, pretty much exact same model, but all in white. It was an old listing from 9 years ago, but the fellow said he compared it to his friend's $10,000 Gibson. Now, I don't know about all that. That's probably hyperbole, but You know, considering this is, even for the day, this would have been a higher end Memphis, but we're still talking a budget brand. We're not talking Gibson Fender, you know, the big boys, or any sort of like boutique. This is a, you know, Japanese factory made. They were early CNC specialists and so forth, and so they could cost cut. Now this was near the end, so again, this is a really, really excellent specimen. If you can find a 1980s Matsumoku made, you're getting towards the pinnacle of their evolution, because they shut down in '87 after Singer pulled out. They're part of the factory funding, and whatever economics happened, and it had to shut down. But really excellent factory. Even the early stuff, you can see I'm going to do a follow-up on like the evolution of that factory, because now I've got early specimens coming from the mid 60s all the way through this, and I've got one that, here's a little sneak peek for you. I've unboxed it. It's disassembled, obviously. It doesn't have the neck on right now. This guitar was so dirty, and I didn't have the capability of doing videos when it came in. And but this is that same era as this. These two were late era. These were 80s Matsumoku made. That's an Aria Pro 2 RS Classic, and so that's going to be coming up on the channel as well. Again, I wish I could be doing more right now, but with transitioning and going to the new house, transitioning to the new church and everything, it's been very busy. But I super appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And please, as I'm transitioning, I can't be putting out near as much videos, so please, I've got literally hundreds of videos on my channel, so just browse them. You know, once the algorithm forgets, once it's gone through its motions, it's just in the library. So I ask you guys to go check out the archives and so forth. I'm very close to full monetization, but just can't be putting out the same level of content right now with everything going on in my life. But super appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.